I would change the electrical system closer to what we're doing now, bring it down into where you can have a lot higher capacity. I would lighten the structure up a little bit in several different ways, from cabinets to bonding to just different framing engineering. The floor here, I would not go as tall as we went on this one. I would keep it a little bit more shallow. That way you save weight and you keep your center of gravity low. Okay. This thing has only got 66,000 miles on it. 66,400 essentially. Not bad. Okay. They kept up on that truck really well. Well, let's walk through this thing. We built this thing a few years ago, and I just kind of want to show it to you. I think it looks pretty good still for its age. And several years ago, I think back in 17, I think 2017. Not bad. So this thing is pretty custom, super custom. I don't know about super custom, but pretty custom. And I just kind of want to go over everything they had us build for them and just show it to you, because it's a good example of the stuff that we've built over the years. It's another one of those ones that is, you know, it's kind of fun to look back and see how things turn out, how they hold up, what they're looking like. And yeah, so let's go just jump into it. All right, so where to start? We will kind of go over the size of the unit. We'll go inside and look at it and see everything they had us build into it and why it's kind of so different than other stuff out there. We'll go dimensions, width, kind of the raised, why it has a raised floor, what kind of water system does it have in it, and all of that kind of stuff. We'll run in there and look at it. But first we'll go over the outside here, and then kind of, so I think on custom builds, you know, it's important to start with what the situation is, what people want, you know, out of a build. So these people were really heavy into skiing, you know, so they wanted a unit they could use in the middle of the winter and you know, and year round really, but they spend their time in the winter and in kind of the shoulder seasons. That was them. And they had a couple of boys. You know, it's been several years. I don't remember the full situation on how many kids they had, but I'm pretty sure it was 2 boys. And so we did some bunks and everything inside there for them. And so now, you know, I believe those guys are out and either in their late high school years or already out of high school and into the college years. It's amazing how quick time goes by, you know, 7 to 8 years, what happens in that timeline. So anyway, that's what the camper is, right? They wanted the full water system in it and all of that. And so that's what we did. But like this ski drawer, we're gonna pull out that ski drawer here. And you know what? I don't see stairs on here, and I don't remember seeing them inside the door, so I'm wondering if they even left them with us. So I'm gonna run inside and grab a ladder really quick. Let's go over and do that, because that's quite a bit of a jump. Okay. I'm not exactly daddy long legs, and so that's a bit of a climb for me. Well, that's not so great. It's one of these keys here. Perfect. Okay, so we'll run in there. Boy, it is a cold fall morning. It's raining and it's a little bit nippy, so yeah, I'll close that way we don't get the door wet. Okay, so this unit is 10.5 feet long, 10.5 foot right there. Then it is 96 inches wide, and that 96 is from this point to the same point on the other side, right? Now they liked the gray. This was back right when we had just begun doing the darker gray color. But the problem with the dark gray is it's very hot, right? In the summer, that gets super hot. And we build a lot of darker color units. You know, that's common. But we stopped doing this particular color gray because it just, again, it gets too warm and it causes sealants to dissipate quicker, shortens the warranty life, and we do a 5-year warranty, and so we no longer offer that color. But it sure is a pretty color, right? And they just came in here and had us reseal the whole unit, make sure it's up and good and gonna stay on the road for several years. So we just did all of that for them. And really, this is holding up pretty good, right? It's not too bad at all. But let's run up top here really quick before anything else. Oh yeah, look at that. And see, the thing here is, guys, the color, we never used to offer a black roof. I think folks in the comments on another gray camper like this that we've done, we never used to offer a black roof because of heat. We always used to do white. But a lot of folks, that's what they, in this category that are looking at the aesthetics, they want that. The pros and cons fall on the back side of that. Anyway, but then the years go on and then you realize that you don't necessarily care what the roof looks like, right? So we try to do a little bit better of a job at anchoring in and letting our customers know, hey, we really shouldn't do black up there, and in fact we won't do that. I know it takes the aesthetic hit, but after we try to do our best at explaining that 5-year curve and saying, hey, in 5 years you're not going to care what color the roof is. So anyway, it does have the black roof, right? But we got new Sikaflex all over this thing. And so yeah, basically this is what it looks like. And so you can kind of see what the inside is going to look like here in a second. We got the escape hatch up there for inside, and then this luggage rack right here. I don't recommend these kinds of luggage racks. I mean, if you like them, you like them, but I personally don't, and I strongly recommend against them, simply because they are penetrations in the roof, right? They don't hold a lot of weight. They don't hold enough weight for what you're going to throw up here, and so what happens is they end up getting damaged with what gets thrown up here and then causing leaks in the roof. So I strongly encourage against these, but if you know you like them, then that's fine. Then put them up there. Just understand what that comes with. It comes with making sure you're paying attention to your maintenance, right? No big deal. Okay, so right here we've got a ski drawer, again, because they're skiers, they really like that. We have, let's start over here and we'll walk around. We got a water heater, I believe just a 6-gallon. Got 30 pounds, it looks like, of propane right there. Then we have just a regular battery, nothing special or something to write home about, right? We do much more developed electrical systems now, and we kind of anchor in on that. Can't remember the last time I did a traditional electrical system like this where it's just a regular run-of-the-mill battery. Now really our small electrical systems are 150 amp hour, which is double this, and that's really where you need to be. You know, if you're doing a specialty camper and you're going to pay someone like us to do a specialty camper, I think it should have a robust electrical system. This is for your grill, if you hadn't noticed. That is a quick disconnect. Then your basic 30 amp service right there. This one does have a propane refrigerator, 25,000 BTU furnace. This is some exterior storage. Right here, we've got a nice big ski drawer. And let's get this thing opened up. Yeah, that's real long. Very nice. Good, strong. I think those are 500-pound glides, but you can fit your skis, snowboards, whatever you need to in there. I believe this thing is just about 7 foot long. Not bad. And you can see how they're using it. I believe the stairs fit in here as well, but I'm not certain. If we had a set of stairs, then I'd put them in there. Okay. Get that closed back up. Okay. Very nice. I love those ski drawers. Whenever you can incorporate them into a build, I encourage it, you know. Then obviously sewer hose goes there. Got an outside shower. This is where all the drains are for the sewer system. And then This right here is just storage on the back side of the shower inside. Pretty traditional. This is a very traditional systems camper, like you would get out on the regular market, but with some differences, right? And again, it is on an 8-foot bed truck, and I believe this is a 2010. We're gonna check and see. 2009 and 09. And then they got the fast gun tie downs, right? I love those things. And then they got an interesting window arrangement up there. But let's go inside, get out of this cold. These truck and awnings right here, they're nice, they are, but I personally am not a fan of them. That's called the truck and awning by Carefree. And I just think that Carefree could have done a better job. But when it's deployed, boy, weather like this, it makes it to where you can leave that door open and all that water doesn't get right inside the door. So for that, I actually really do like it. So let's go in here. I'm taking a video. Yeah, I'm filming. All these guys asking me every time I'm holding my phone. Let's get some lights on in here. Okay, getting lights on in here. Getting lights on. Get these turned up. They're a little dimmer here. Okay. Do another one. Very nice. Okay, so you can see first off, right away here, these folks wanted the maple. They loved the maple paneling. And so that's the theme they went with. And we offer that. So yeah, there we go. There's some lights. And they didn't want to see any staple holes in here. That was the big thing. They wanted no visual of a staple. And so every one of these panels is glued on only. They're bonded on, but that adds weight, right? Now with every build like this, if you are somebody who knows a specific layout that you want and a set of features, that comes with a consequence, right? If you're told the weight, and this is something we do a lot better at now. Man, that's a nice camper. This is just nice. We do a lot better at saying, okay, hey, here's what the impact of what you want is going to be on weight. You guys, the customer, you can make the decision on if that's something that you want, to a trade-off that you want. We weren't doing that as much when we were building these, right? And that's okay. But this camper is heavier than I would say I like. So I think this camper is probably up around 3,500 to 3,800 pounds. That's the ballpark. And we can build them a lot lighter than that if we kind of anchor in, right? But let's go ahead. That's the big thing, is they wanted all of this paneling, no staple holes. So from there, let's go ahead and open everything up. So this is an overhead bunk, and this was, or still is actually, a pretty common way that we do our bunks. Right there. You can see. Now they wanted light up in there for whoever was going to be up in here. And so we went ahead and put in these windows, right? And then they wanted the USB chargers and everything like that. And now this little panel comes out and it sets over top of these openings. And then that bunk is there. That'll hold right around 300 pounds or more. It can actually hold a lot more than that, but that's what we rate them at. And then this right here, post and pedestal style, the Lagoons have essentially taken this over, right? This is also a bed. Let's go ahead and close this. There. Then, right here, this is a north-south queen bed, and they wanted the traditional, you know, bunks and everything, or the cabinets and everything in here, and the reading lights up in the front, and the outlets and everything. Now, part of the reason why we don't like those, well, it looks like that is broken. That's not necessarily a good thing. That needs to get taken care of. Anyway, we'll just screw that back on there for them. I'm not sure what happened to that, but stuff like that. Anyway, that's part of the reason what I was even going to go into. These right here aren't the best idea in event above your bed, because something like this happens and it soaks your mattress on a day like today where it's raining. And the last thing I want is to come back to a soaked mattress camper. Anyway, right underneath this bed, this is a neat example of something that is a really nice feature in concept and in initial thought, but what it turns into and what you realize the raw function actually is as time goes on is not worth the trade-off. So this right here is fantastic. The idea of, okay, I've got this awesome bed that just is going to push my mat or deal up, that's just going to push the mattress up out of the way, and I'm going to be able to store all kinds of stuff in here. This is really cool, but it's heavy, right? It adds a lot of weight, and then like their feedback is, it's hard to get anything back there without climbing, because as you're driving, it all slides forward, right? And so you say, okay, well, then we'll just block it off. We'll do this nice storage under here and we'll block it off. Well, then you're building up the entire floor of the whole cab over so that you can gain 30 to 40 inches of space. Now, if you come in here and you say, no, that's a perfect spot for my skis, instead of this, I'm going to make it to where it can actually be water resistant and all that kind of stuff. Great, but then you should probably get airflow in there so it doesn't get musty and stuff like that. And so when you start going through the list of the true benefit of something like this, man, it's cool. I personally did the building here back when I was on the floor, and getting all of these lights in here nice and clean, and a good, consistent and reliable switch right here to just shut off the lights. This was, you know, my pride and joy of a job that I did at the time, and it's awesome. It's beautiful, but what is the real function of it, and the amount of weight that it's going to add to the cab over, the cost, and then the real function says, okay, well, I just added about 4.5 inches right there of height, and I took it away from my ceiling height inside the bed. Now, the benefit to going with a raised floor, because in this particular camper, all the tanks are in the raised floor, the benefit is you get more headroom in here because the whole thing comes up. Your ceiling comes up, so everything gets taller in the build. Well, this right here, this change probably added about 150 pounds, probably a little more to the entire build. Right? So is that something that is worth it if it becomes a storage space you're not actually going to use? So those are kinds of things I like to show the pros and cons. If you figure out that you do in fact want it, then by all means build it that way. But just understand what the years turn into on true function. So moving on from that, got a regular old, this was probably the 7350 at the time. Fantastic fan. Dometic has since bought them out and changed some things, but it's still the same basic fan. Then you have some good storage up in here, right there, right? As much storage as possible, right? And functional at that. Then you have a bunch of little stuff like this right here is another one of those things. You got a radio and all your monitors and everything. And see, this is something where now we stopped doing all of this like the rest of manufacturers out there. This is still how a lot of manufacturers do it, where you have electrical there, you have electrical here, you don't have a good charge controller in the right place, stuff like that. This is perfectly functional, but for the power demand of this camper, I will be the first one to tell you it's underpowered. You should do an electrical system like what we do now, right? So or when you're doing your own build, not talking about just what we're doing here, when you're doing your own build, that's a big boy, real big camper. It's like probably tapping on 50 feet long. Anyway, when you're doing your own build, avoid stuff like this, guys. Try to get all of that electrical down into one place like we do on our fish hook, and like I explained in other videos and show you all of that. But very traditional, and the idea is it's right in front of your face. You can see it. You can see what is going on with your batteries and your charge and all of this, right? And I'm not sure if this voltage is coming off the panel or if it's coming off of being plugged in, because I did need to plug it in. You can see what your voltage is and everything. It's nice to sit there and read all of that, but how functional is it really? Then this right here is a switch for the water heater, the electric side of the water heater, right? And then this here has got a pretty robust tank system in it. I believe it's pushing 40 gallons of water, fresh water, and then you got your gray water as well. Underneath the counter here, we have got our bypass, but also behind here is a filtration system, right? So they've got full filtration, and excuse me, because they do drink the water in here, right? So this is an example of a camper that they needed it to be able to be essentially a full service build. And then you can see power converter over here, 5 cubic foot refrigerator, I believe is what that is. it came in because it was having some, this one was being temperamental, but we deemed it was a propane supply issue, not the refrigerator. That was one of the things on the list. It was this, and then resealing the camper. And then inside here, you have your traditional RV bathroom, right? Nice and big, very basic. Looks like they've taped some stuff off. I'm not certain why. But yeah, you can see all of this stuff. I'm kind of looking at this at the same time you guys are and seeing how things held up and what everything looks like. But it's very simple, guys. This is a very traditional camper. We've built many like this. There's the lights in the bathroom. So if you're wanting to be impossible, you just shut the lights off on somebody and they're just gonna shower in there in the dark. There's the switch for the bunk lights, right? But you can see what this camper is. The layout is awesome. And I had another gentleman walk in here the other day and he absolutely loves it. And this is what he's going to do because he wants a bigger camper like this. But he's changing some things, right? He doesn't need an actual bathroom with a shower. He's actually a pretty big guy. He's pretty tall. And he's just going to do a dry bath with the toilet over there. And he doesn't want a black water tank. He wants a cassette toilet, right? Very common. That kind of stuff is common. And then, but it will still have a pretty good size freshwater system. And then he might end up having this pull-out drawer depending on the size of the tanks that he wants. So you can see nice fun little lighting underneath the steps. Just stuff, guys. You can build whatever you want. It just is a matter of what's important to you. And you can see the blinds here. Valence's marine vinyl. I remember she wanted to be able to wipe this stuff down. And then she brought us this countertop. She specifically wanted Corian, right? And so that's what she got. And then this is very common, but it's heavy, right? This is heavy stuff. There's a lighter way to do it, but the counter is awesome. We don't do Corian like that. We don't offer it here. And she really wanted it, and so that's what we did. And then this over here, I almost forgot about this. This is really cool. In here, this is ducted off the furnace, right? This is under use, guys, so this is not a video done for show. It's, you know, for beautiful glamour. It's just showing you stuff. So these are all, there's 4 sets in here of boot dryers, again, because they're out skiing, right? And so they wanted to be able to dry out their boots. And so this right here is ducted not into electric because it's got a weaker electrical system in it. This is off of the furnace. So the furnace itself is actually ducting over to these. And so yeah, the one critique I would put on us is that we should have put a blade valve to where you could shut the boot dryers off. That way they didn't turn this into a hot box, because this turns into a hot box and then it vents out over there. And that's not necessarily ideal. So there's some critiques on us that I'm putting, but this is really fun because this is the type of project, if you're going to do it and duct those off of the furnace, then it's really great and all, but you've got your basic HVAC and CFM rules of what happens when you put a certain number of 90s and then your volume in each tube and all of that. Otherwise, one of them will get no air and another one will get super dry or super hot. One set of boots is going to be super dry and the others are going to be cold still. And then they brought us this flooring specifically. It's like a garage floors type flooring. This is one on their own critique that they wouldn't do again because it's really hard to clean out. And that was my critique at the time is, look, how are you going to clean this out? But that's what they wanted. They wanted to proceed. So this here is the flooring like what you would also find in a ski resort, to where, or at least at the time, right, where you can walk in here with your ski boots on or your snowboarding boots, and you're not going to damage the floor and everything. Right? And that was important to them. That's really what they wanted. And then simple stuff like this where the entire floor is heated. And so you have your discharge coming up right there so that you're displacing your heat. The heat is ducted down into the floor over here and then it gets pushed and exits over there. But then underneath the seats here, they also have storage. And I'm not going to just open up their camper, guys. I'm going to be respectful. But this is just, it's fun to look back at this stuff and see how it's holding up. This camper is doing great. You know, it's going to be on the road for quite a bit more time. And, you know, this is also a perfect example of what life throws at you. After they picked this camper up, they actually ran into some challenges, personal challenges with medical and stuff like that, I believe, and they didn't get to use the camper a whole bunch. And now they're kind of at that point where they're getting to break it out and use it a whole lot more. I think they've been using it more over the past couple of years. But anyway, guys, I hope you found this one helpful for just being able to see what's possible for your own build and kind of, you know, envisioning what you like in something, you know, in what is good, what is bad. Personally, my critique on this whole build is certainly not the gray metal or a gray Phylon on the outside. I would go to a metal. You could do bonded and all of that, but I certainly wouldn't go that dark. I would not do the Corian over here. I would eliminate things like these lights because it's just extra that most people say they don't really like. The Corian is too heavy. I would take that out. I would take away all of the bonding, right? I would kind of accent a little bit more. This thing sure feels nice and open though. That's for sure. I certainly would not put an escape hatch up there. I'm not sure how much they've really used it. And actually, hopefully you don't have to use it in escape hatch on the regular, right? I would change the electrical system closer to what we're doing now. Bring it down into where you can have a lot higher capacity. I would lighten the structure up a little bit in several different ways, from cabinets to bonding to just different framing engineering. The floor here, I would not go as tall as we went on this one. I would keep it a little bit more shallow. That way you save weight and you keep your center of gravity low. I would change the bathroom. The bathroom's always something that is basically entirely dependent on each individual person. Some people, they can't imagine going out without a shower. Other people are like, I've never used the shower in the 10, 15, 20 years I've owned my camper, so I can't believe anybody does it. Others say I have to have a regular toilet with a tank. Others say I can't believe you have a regular toilet with a tank. I'm only going to do a cassette. And then other people are going to say, I can't believe you have a toilet in your camper at all. It should just be a dry stall. And then all the way down to people who say you do not need a bathroom in the camper. Guys, that one I don't have a true recommendation on. It's dependent on you, right? So the boot dryer, based on the feedback of this customer, they say they don't use it a whole bunch in hindsight. Now, I don't know. There are some people who say they use their boot dryers in their camper all the time. That's another one that's a question mark. How much do you want to put into the dryer? Is it something that you want to dedicate that much space to a wet closet? If it is, then do it, right? But it's questionable. They're using it as main storage, I believe, for the most part, more than a boot dryer. The refrigerator, if you like a face loading refrigerator, go with that. The thing is it's propane, right? It comes with airflow challenges. It comes with level. The truck has to be level. A lot of stuff is 12 volt now. We do both. Whatever you're good with, right? Again, back to the electrical system, this should all be consolidated and a lot of improvement there. Stuff like this where we put in for them where you can operate those cab over lights by this switch here or then back over here to this switch. It's just a momentary switch. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. It's finicky, right? Because it's going through a little IntelliTech board to accomplish three-way switching for the lights. There's another switch over there. That way they can turn them on from anywhere. Little stuff like that. Is that necessary? I would say no. Then tank heaters. These right here. These are awesome. They turn on the heat pads. But it's high power consumption. That's another reason to have a good electrical bay, right? High power consumption there. They're only going to activate if it hits a certain temperature outside anyway. Those types of things. They're nice. Maybe you like them, maybe you need them. But those are my critiques, right? That's what I would do in this particular build. But the layout is absolutely phenomenal. The layout is large. It feels nice. And it's just overall a nice camper. It truly is. But there are those critiques. All right. So anyway, guys, that's my take on this thing. Overall, I love the camper. It really is. It's a nice camper. It just, if there is a few improvements, that's it. But yeah, I love I love looking back and seeing what we build over the years. And if you like this one, right, we have another camper just like this one. You can go over and watch that one right here. And then we have several other walkthroughs on the channel there too. So, all right guys, thanks for watching. Cheers.